Right, so thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning and welcome to this fantastic event, all for it. My name is Dearlove. I'm a BIM coordinator for Brookfield Multiplex. I'd just like to give you a little background on Brookfield Multiplex. We work across 4 different continents and 7 countries with a team of just under 4,000 people. We work in sectors across most sectors with commercial, residential, tourism, leisure, justice, government, education. Also health projects, retail, stadiums and engineering and infrastructure. We actually built the Wembley Stadium. I don't know if you've been there, but it's a fantastic stadium. And we have a workbook just shy of $7 billion and still growing. So my projects, which was introduced just a minute ago, so we've got 7389 Oxford Street, which is in the exclusive west end of the city. It's a fantastic project. We've also got 22 Bishopsgate, which is going to be the tallest building in the city of London in the square mile. So Oxford Street, like I say, it's in the west end of the city. It's £40 million contract value, and it's of mixed use. And on this project, we've got certain BIM deliverables, which are both from our side and from the client side. On this project, we're using BIM to give us assurance of 3D design coordination and integrity, 4D construction sequencing, and also 7D asset management. So they're the BIM deliverables from the client side, but from our side, we're using digital surveys, site mobility, digital O&Ms, commissioning, snaggings, and health and safety files, which we'll talk a bit more about in a minute. So what does it look like working in this environment and delivering those deliverables in this environment? So top left, we've got the BIM execution plan, an absolutely key document to planning out how you're going to execute the project and meet those deliverables. And it gives everybody on the project an idea of how we're doing that, all the processes, the procedures behind it. We've also got just to the left of that, just to the right of that, we've got the model audit, which is what we carry out at certain stages during the project to see where the project is at, where the information is at, and how it's developing. So we get like a snapshot at each stage and then tell the design team or the construction team how we're going to make it better. We've got a few screenshots coming across the screen there in green and red of clash detection. And then further over, you've got a Navisworks screenshot as well. If you look in the middle of the presentation, you see a column in the middle of a door. I don't know if you can see that just in the middle there. These are some of the design problems we found out at stage E. So this was meant to be a construction stage model. And as you can see, we didn't have coordination of columns, we didn't have coordination of doors. That's a fire exit with a column in the middle of it. Obviously, that's not going to work. We also had risers weren't working. We had lots of congestion in the M&E. So we literally, from stage E, we had to go back to the start and do a lot of work, a lot of coordination. So that's the deliverables from the client side. If you look a bit down, just underneath the BIM execution plan, that's a 3D survey we carried out of the retained facade that we're going to be keeping. That's been absolutely integral for us because we needed to be able to coordinate our temporary works with the main steel and the facade, so lifting up that facade and keeping it in the right place. To the bottom of that, with our site mobility, we have smart boards in every site, which I'll talk about a bit more later on, but we bring up all the models and use those in all our meetings to discuss and show what's going on the project. Just at the bottom right here, we have a sequence model, or a screen grab of that. So we plan all our projects using Synchro to show the build sequence and give the client, the assurance that we can actually build it and we know what we're doing. Also, we use it to show people, neighbours and things like that as well, to show that how we're going to build this project and so it won't affect them. So 22 Bishopsgate, flagship project, contract value of 500 million. This project is very exciting, right in the city of London. It's going to be the tallest building in the square mile. Really, really exciting project. 62 floors at present, but it is still open to change. This project was slightly different. We were brought in right at concept stage. So we've been able to push things onto the projects that help us, and also we've been able to give our experience to the design team and to the client a lot earlier on, which we're not normally always able to do. On this project, similar to the first Oxford Street project, we've got the client deliverables again of 3D, 4D and 7D, design coordination, construction sequencing and asset management. But something that we've been able to do because we've been brought on so much earlier on this project is do 5D costing. So we've actually built the model to be able to extract quantities and costing from the model, which has been really exciting. But it does take a lot more work to be able to do that. On top of that, we've also got progress tracking, program and logistics. So what does it look like working in that environment? Same again, we've got the BIM execution plan, absolute key document. On top of that, you'll see just to the right of it, we've got a lot of workflows and a lot of workflow diagrams and processes. To be able to achieve those much further, if you like, higher deliverables, we've had to create a lot more processes and think about how we're going to achieve these things. So we've had to go through it step by step with the team, decide, right, how can we make this work? Like building the model, for example, 5D costing. We've got the Revit model there on the right. We've also got the existing structure, which we've had surveyed, which I'll show a picture of later. We've had a 3D survey of that, so we've completely done a cloud point survey and created a Revit model from that information. That's been key. We've also been able to do, because we're involved a lot earlier, we've been able to do a lot of optioneering. So we've been able to model it in 3D and see what works better, or what design can be worked better to give us more room, or things like that, which is the image at the bottom. Again, we've got the smart boards, which are absolutely fantastic. But not only is it coming from us, at the bottom right here we have a printed model. So the design team, or everybody on this project, is all pushing the boundaries and seeing how we can understand the project better or make things better, because we're all involved so much earlier. So the design team have actually been printing 3D prints of their different ideas, which we've been able to table at meetings and take off sections of it and look and move around, which has been really helpful. So this is our 4D model. This is just initial screenshots of the 4D model that we're building at the moment for this project. Now, this is a fantastic and exciting project, but it's got many, many challenges. So we've got it's complex build methodology, sequencing, the program, logistics, the neighbours, which are obviously very important on this project, being in the City of London. We've got the city airspace, the underground, Transport for London, and it's all under the watchful eye of about 1,500 people who pass by every hour. Okay, so it's a very, very challenging project. So this model's been absolutely key in us being able to explain to people how we're building it and how we're not going to affect the local area. And in this model we can show cars going past, we can show what happens during rush hour, things like that. And it's been really key to show our neighbours that we can build this and we can do it safely. Also for TfL, for the city airspace, to just explain to everybody visually what we're doing. So that's a screenshot. I wanted to throw this in there because it's a great CGI of London. And actually in that project, in that picture there, I think there's 14 projects that aren't built yet. So there's quite a few in there, obviously 22 BGs in the middle, 100 BGs, another one of our projects just to the right of it. But what's incredible about this image is it's showing what BIM is doing in London. It's given us a chance to build, as you can see, lots of unusual shaped buildings, which would not have been possible, I don't think, before. BIM gives us the opportunity to design things that are very unusual, very, very strange, and play around with them in a virtual world. So what makes this all possible? Standardisation of production, delivery, processes, procedures, information exchange, outputs and inputs, technology and tools, the team. In short, it's the standardisation and revolution that is building information modelling. But what I like to call better information management. So what is this BIM? It's all about data. It is really key. Data can improve what we do. Clients now want data for themselves, so it's not only coming from our side of things, clients want data, and there's a few screen grabs there of EIRs, which we're seeing more and more of now. People want information for themselves, and it's different to the information we want. So we want different information to our clients. Clients mainly want it for their FM, whereas we want it for the design and construction. So it's different. Good data requires effective processes and standards. The standards are key. And with good data, we can outperform as a business and as an industry, as we are. So what is this BIM? So BIM is a whole life cycle process that has many, many avenues and a different engagement. And as you can see there's all different types of parts of BIM. Behind each and every one of those parts is processes, standards, workflows, and teams of people deciding how to achieve those. It's not just a case of we want design to be in BIM. There's all standards and processes behind that to achieve them. Which is where I want to ask you a question. Can I have a show of hands who plays golf? There's quite a few of you who play golf, which is good. Okay. So if I was going to play golf, I'd walk out onto the course tomorrow with my golf stick, right? And I wouldn't expect to be at the end of the day a champion. So I wouldn't expect to be a champion. The first thing I need to know is I need to understand that there's different terms in golf. I need to understand that's not a stick, that's a club. Okay, and BIM's very similar. But I wouldn't expect to walk out on the course and just start walking around with my one club and finish on par with a handicap of under 3 or something like that and be the champion. Okay? First of all, I'd need to get a golf ball, right? So I couldn't walk out on the course just with a golf club. I'd need to get a golf ball. I'd also need to get a bag. I'd also need to get loads of different clubs to do different shots. And I'd also want to go and seek out somebody to teach me how to play, okay? Before I can start swinging like that guy there and hitting a 400-yard drive. So if you want to be the champion, you need to start off somewhere small. You need to start off on a driving range for starters. You need to know what the right tool is for the job. Same with golf. BIM's very, very similar. You need to know what your right tool is for your right strike. You don't expect to use one software to do something that it's not designed to do. Also, what are the rules of golf? If you walk onto a golf course, you need to know the rules. You need to know how to play. You need to know what shots are or anything like that. BIM's very similar. Learn the standards, learn the rules, learn the rules of engagement. Go out there, read the standards, understand them. If I wanted to be taught by an expert in golf, I wouldn't go to Dave in the pub and say, Dave, can you teach me how to play golf? And he goes, yeah, of course I can. I'd go and find an expert, and I'd want to know, how do I know that person's an expert? I'd look into their background. I'd say, right, have you taught champions? Which champions have you taught? Have you got a record of that? We've got standards for that as well. So we've got the CapEx assessments. So you can actually assess your supply chain, assess your design consultants, assess people you're interviewing. You can assess them using these standards, and you can say, right, they actually do know what they're talking about. They do know about BIM. If I was going to take up golf as well, I wouldn't just walk out on an expert 18-hole course. I'd go and do a training course first, or I'd go and do like pitch and putt. Same again, do it with a smaller project first before you do it on a big project, or do it on a certain part of your company before you roll it out across the whole company. And the most important part about golf is if I was going to go out and play, I'd need to go and buy myself some shoes, some trainers, some trousers, a golf bag, all the background things that I need before I can even start playing. The same with BIM, you've got to have an upfront cost. You have to put investment in first before you go and start playing in BIM. You need to have training first, you need to have your membership and all them sort of things first before you go and start doing BIM. And then once you can, if you do invest, the benefits and the rewards of being in BIM are huge, and you can be the champion. So that's how I want you to imagine, if you like, approaching your BIM. So if you're going to start working in the world of BIM, that's how I want you to think. I want you to think that it's not just a case of picking up the first tool you walk in on and just going out there and being a champion. You need to actually train, you need to learn, you need to invest, okay? And this is where the need for standards. So we need a standard way of approaching, once we've started our approach in BIM, we need a standard way of working in BIM. So BIM is, if you like, it is the only way in which we can communicate and work within this complex world of data by having an agreed set of standards that all project stakeholders abide by. So as was mentioned earlier, I've worked in BIM for 7 years, or a BIM environment 7 years before it was called BIM. And when I first started off working in a BIM environment, it was very, very difficult because I was the only person working in a 3D environment for starters. And the file formats that I was using, I was trying to talk to people. They didn't understand what I was using words like golf stick instead of golf club, and they were saying, what are you talking about? So it was very, very difficult. So I was having to invent the wheel myself. I was having to come up with my own standards, my own methods of workflows and processes, whereas we don't have to do that now. We're way past that. We've got an excellent set of standards and workflows that the British government has gone out and paid a lot of money for and spent a lot of time seeking out experts in their own fields to create. They've gone out there and they've tested it on certain projects, and they've created this fantastic portfolio of standards which go right the way through from the concept and initially project engagement all the way through. You've also got not only have they given us the standards of how you can enter into the world of BIM and work in a BIM environment, it's not just for you either, it's for the whole entire construction industry. Not only have they done that, they've also given us standard methods of executing. So you've got a pre-contract building information, BIM execution plan. That's excellent. And then you've also got the post-contract. So they're actually giving you standard ways of deploying BIM on a project. And they're also giving you standard templates as well to ask the right questions. So even if you don't know about BIM, you've got the questions there ready to ask. In addition to that, there's an absolute plethora of other BIM standards which cover everything from collaborative approach, how to create elements, contract engagement, the CITA protocols. They give you intellectual property rights, all that sort of stuff. There's literally, if you said there was an app for it, there is. So what's the key messages? Embrace industry standards. Focus on the data and data quality. Encourage, validate and trust the data. Promote the use of 3D information. So BIM's not just about 3D, it is about the data behind it. But 3D information is key. It can explain so much more than just the data alone or just a 2D drawing. Push the boundaries of technology and data to be more efficient during design and construction. Don't be afraid to try out new things, but like we said, use it on a smaller project or a smaller process first before widening it across the whole business. Increased productivity will follow. That's a key message. So you need to, same with when you're going out on the golf course with your expert hole. For your first time you'll go out, you'll miss shots, you'll hit it off into the rough. With BIM's the same. You need to try and do it as a staged approach. You might make mistakes the first time. It might be difficult the first time, but there might be also great benefits the first time as well. It's a way of you need to sort of work in it first before you get those massive benefits back. So what impact has this had on Brookfield Multiplex? First thing is it's had a big impact on our company structure. So we've got new teams, new people, new roles. And the key point about the new company structure is that it's led from directors. The directors sit on our BIM technical groups. It's from the top down. They're the ones driving this. They're the ones who are fully on board with it. And that is really, really key. It needs to have director level involvement or engagement. We've also got a new service. So we've got a BIM service, so we've got a team of people that have a new service to our company as well as our clients. We have new deliverables and we have new duties as well. So the new deliverables are both for our benefit and for our clients. So on the left-hand side, the ones in grey are the ones that we do on every project now, and we can do those internally, so we don't need any external information to be able to achieve those. And they're the ones that we see massive benefit in our company. The ones on the right, that's for the, if you like, the level 2 portfolio. Some of those we would love to do on every project, but we can't always if we come on at stage E because we don't have the inherited information to achieve them. But they are all achievable. And some of those the clients will pick from. So if we had to achieve level 2, we'd go for the whole pack. So it's also completely changed the way we can engage with our consultants and subcontractors. We've had to come up with new contracts and new appointment documents. And also we also ask now for the, if you like, the capability assessments that I mentioned earlier of how to see if someone's an expert or not. With these standards as well, these documents here are standard documents that we've used, but they need to be built on and adjusted to your company, so how you want to use them. So we've taken the standard documents and changed them to suit us. But these are now sent out at every tender to test our supply chain. And obviously we've got the BIM execution plan. The BIM execution plan is our project plan of how we approach the project. It's not just a document that's just for BIM. It is a whole life cycle, whole product execution plan. It tells us who is responsible for what are they going to create, when are they going to deliver, and how is it going to be used, which is really key. It's also changed the way we store our information and exchange our information. So this is from PAS 1192. We've now got a common data environment, which we had before, but it's changed the way we name things in that environment, where we store things and how we exchange information. So this is our delivery setup. So on the left you've got the CDE, which we use Aconex, and all of our information is stored on there and shared through there. So it's got workflows that it goes through, and it's distributed to the correct people at the right time. We also use Zootech. So we start off with our design intent model. We work with Zootech or an equivalent system, where we then push our information from our CDE into Zootech, and then we can then give that over to the client to use for their FM system. We've also got different ways we manage our information. So this is a federated model. So when people, quite often they'll say to me, Jack, can we have a 3D coordination model? I'll say, yes, of course, but there's a lot of people that need to be involved to be able to achieve that. And this is just one aspect of BIM. But obviously you've got all the architecture models, you've got the MEP models, the structure models, the logistics models, and then the subcontractors models which supplement that model. So eventually you have a federated model that contains not all of the information, but it contains all the 3D geometry information. And then we then use a third-party software like Zootech, which links to that model and contains all the information. You don't have to put all of your data into a 3D model. You don't even have to have the 3D model if you don't need it, if you can't achieve it. But as long as you've got somewhere where all your information is contained and everyone can access it. So what does it look like and how it's changed our approach? This is what our offices look like now and on site. So we have the smart boards on site as well. They're used for toolbox talks. We run the sequence models in our inductions to show that where the key problems are on site or health and safety issues are on site. We also use tablets to give our site mobility, where people can access the latest information on site. So they can walk around on site, snag, identify problems, bring up elevations on site. But it's all in one location, so it's rather than having to go into an office and print out lots of drawings and carry them around on site and look at what they're doing, they can just take the iPad on site, click on what they want. It doesn't necessarily have to be the 3D model, but you can use the 3D model on site as well. But you can access all the data in one place. We're also using ID tags on a couple of our projects where we progress and track the build of the construction project using our ID tags, so we can track our facades coming in. They're scanned as they come on the site, so then in the model it will go orange, it's on site, and then when it's installed, it's then scanned again and it will go green, so then it's installed. So then we've got a live sort of progress that we can show and we can print out in our 2-week progress checks. This is a 3D survey of the 22 BG basement. So we've got an external supplier to go in there and do a point cloud survey of the entire basement and all the existing structure. That's then online in a cloud-based system, which everyone can have access to, all of our sub-consultants and our consultants and our client. So then people can go in and actually see what's in the building at the moment. Fantastic tool. You get the floor plan, you can go and see where all the stations are, and you can go in there, you can mark them up. You can save your markups and then email them to other people. So if you've got an RFI or a question, you can also do measurements in there. So that's a really, really, really powerful tool. And of course, because it's in 3D, it's so much more easier to understand. So we now have models that are linked to powerful databases. We have swift access to the latest information. That's not just us, that's everybody involved in the project. We have the BIM model and document control linked. It can be viewed on site. We have model-driven progress monitoring. And we also have the building maintenance schedules linked as well, or the PPM schedules linked to the model. So this is where I wanted to talk to you about BIM execution. So the IR it would be the first thing that would be created. If we follow the PAS, so this is from the PAS process, the IR would be the first thing that's created, which states all the employer's information requirements to be achieved on the project. That's then sent out to the supply chain, or the design team, with the attender assessments. So the design team will then fill out those assessment forms, which include the resource that they've got, or BIM resources, their BIM capability, as well as their IT capability. This is a really key point in the part of the process. So the EIR is created and sent out to the design team. But the key point here is that when the design team or the tenderers get that EIR, this is your opportunity to respond to that EIR using the pre-contract BIM execution plan template. So when you respond to that, it's really important that you fill it out honestly and you say, this is what we can achieve, this is how we think this is what we think you want, this is what we think you need on your projects, and this is the value that we can be added by using the information that you've asked for. But it's your chance to say, we don't think you should do that, or we do think you should do that, or you could do this a different way. So it's your chance to reply. And when you reply with your assessments and your BIM execution plans, that then informs the IR. So the client then gets the supplier BEPS back and goes, well, actually, yeah, that's right, that's wrong, and there's a bit of a discussion there, and that then informs and changes the EIR. You then hold a BIM kick-off meeting where you all sit together and discuss with your supplier BEPS and the EIR, and create a post-contract BEP. The design team is then appointed, and then the EIR, and then the process then starts again with the tenders going out now for the main contractor. The main contractor, like us, Brookfield Multiplex, would then carry out the same process again, but then for our own supply chain. So we then, even though if we've worked with people before, we still go through exactly the same process each time, where we send out the tender assessments to our own supply chain. We see if they can achieve these new requirements that the client's now asking us for. We then get supplier BEPS back and the assessments back. And the appointment documents is quite key here. So when we appoint our sub-consultants, as I said earlier, we send out a different set of engagement documents, or in our CR1s, and we have different documents in there to make sure that they are going to work in a BIM environment, to state things like, which is a key point, like that the BIM model is where the 2D drawings come from. So all information is derived from the BIM model. It's not a BIM model separate and 2D drawings created somewhere else. Once we're appointed, we then create our own construction stage BIM execution plan, which encompasses everything that's gone before and states everything that's going to be going forward of how we're going to achieve the project. And that BIM execution plan is constantly developed throughout the project. So as we get more of our supply chain on board, we constantly supplement it with more and more information, with different models, with different engagement processes. And this is the sort of outline, if you like, overview that is outlined in PAS 1192. Just want to show it.